Welcome, everyone. You've got to love a little journey. I'm so excited that we have such an incredible audience of accomplished executives in the room for this exclusive C-suite session. I'm Camille Fetter, the founder and CEO of Talentfoot Executive Search. Our firm specializes in recruiting forward-thinking leaders across sales, marketing, technology, and accounting finance. It's an absolute honor to be hosting you today. Although I do look forward to the day when my avatar can host these webinars. We all know that leading at the top means really making some of the most complex, high stakes decisions in our fields. I guarantee you that the next hour together will transform the way you think about AI as a leader today and for the many years ahead. Let's start. I did throw in the chat, if you can include your title, your industry, your location, and your favorite AI tool, it will give our speaker a great opportunity to get a better sense of who's in the room and for all of us to get better acquainted. Throughout our time together, please feel free to use the chat. This is not only an opportunity for us to learn a ton from our speaker, but from all of the great minds in the room. So feel free throughout our session to share questions, share thoughts, or tips throughout. And we will be having a Q&A session at the very end, so we will be keeping track of the questions in the chat. So please don't be shy. I've had the privilege of getting to know our speaker over the last several months. And the more I jumped into his work, he completely transformed the way I view and leverage AI. And I know he'll do the same for you. As leaders, we're not just looking for another tool. Our tech stack at our firm, I know, is just endlessly growing. And the tools in AI are endlessly growing. We're not looking for just another tool. We're looking for a partner, a co-strategist who sharpens our thinking, challenges our assumptions, and gives us a cognitive edge in an increasingly complex world. And that brings us to our featured guest, the incredible Geoff Woods. Geoff is the author of The AI-Driven Leader and a respected authority on how AI is not just replacing great leadership, it's redefining it. His insights help leaders like you harness AI not to just work faster, but to think deeper, lead bolder, and create meaningful impact. Geoff, we're beyond thrilled to have you here. The floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you so much, Camille. Good morning, everybody. Excited to be on this journey with you. This is going to be highly interactive, so let's kick it off. What if the biggest threat to your business was not your competition, but it was your own thinking? This is something a group of leaders figured out the hard way. I was doing a workshop like this, and I asked a question, which was, what are the biggest challenges you are facing right now that if we could solve them, it would just unlock a completely new level of growth for you? The question itself is strategic. For a guy who wrote a book about AI, I don't care about AI. I care about you building a better business. I care about you building better lives for your people. AI is a tool that can accelerate that happening, or frankly, it can distract you from it. The difference that makes the difference is not the tech. It's you. It's your leadership. One CEO looks at me and he says, I've got a good one for you. I run a manufacturing company. I leased all this equipment from a company in Japan, but things have shifted in the market and the debt structure is really starting to kill us. And we're going to go bankrupt if this does not get restructured. And I go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. What have you done? And he says, I feel like we tried everything. And he lists off 5 specific strategies he's deployed. And he said, none of this has worked because this is a public company in Japan. It's gone all the way to the board and they are refusing to restructure the debt because they think they'll lose face in Japanese society. He goes, I have no next step. We've tried everything. We've hired all the consultants. Nobody can figure this out. We're probably going out of business. Then he asked me a question, which is, can AI help? This is the right question. I literally keep a sticky note on my desk, which I would encourage you to have this. How can AI help me do this? I like it so much I even put it on a Yeti just to remind me. So like from a very small immediate take home value, grab a sticky note and a Sharpie and put how can AI help me do this on your desk. I'm telling you this will change the game. By the end you will know why. Then I opened up, in this case, ChatGPT, and I have a very simple framework for writing prompts called CRIT. Context, role, interview, task. I would write this down. This is a very simple framework that, if you follow this, will blast you past 99% of the people using AI right now. Context, you give AI lots of context about the situation. Role, you tell it the type of expert you want it to be. Interview, this is where we change the game. I do not ask AI questions. I ask AI to ask me questions to pull deeper context out of my head so then it can accomplish a task. Here is the actual prompt I wrote. Context, I'm a manufacturing CEO. I leased all this equipment from a company in Japan. Things have shifted in the market and the debt is now killing us. We're going to go bankrupt if we do not get it restructured. We feel like we've tried everything, and I listed all 5 strategies. None of it has worked because this is a public company in Japan and the board is refusing to restructure the debt because they think they will lose face in Japanese society. I have no alternatives and feel we're going out of business. Role. Your role is to act as an investment banker with deep expertise in restructuring debt. Interview me. Ask me one question at a time, up to 3 questions to gain deeper context so then you can accomplish the task of generating 5 non-obvious strategies I could deploy to get the board to restructure the debt. How many of you had no idea you could talk to AI this way? If so, put a number 1 in the chat box. If you already knew this, put a number 2. Okay. It immediately comes back and it asks, do you have any relationships with other executives in Japan that the board would respect? What a question. And the CEO goes, I would have never asked that. I actually do. And it asks 2 more questions just like this before it comes back and says, here's your 5 non-obvious strategies. Number 1, it called the Saving Face Consortium. It said, you have enough relationships with the right people in Japan. Approach them to acquire your debt. Give them really favorable terms. Your debt will get restructured. The board will save face. I turn and look at the CEO. His whole body language has shifted, and he's literally holding back tears. He looks at the people in the room and he says, I haven't slept in 90 days. How many of you have ever had such high stress levels that you literally could not sleep? If so, put me in the chat box. My hand goes up, by the way, right? Imagine 90 days of just this wrecking you with no end in sight. And then he looks and says, in less than 10 minutes, I actually have some hope. I will always remember when a few months later, my phone rings and it's a text message from him. It said, the ball is moving. I actually think this is going to get done. Here's why I share this with you. Your ability to think strategically is the difference between growing your business or going out of business. We get this as execs, but it requires us to learn how to ask the right questions. This is timeless when it comes to leadership, very timely when it comes to AI. Now, my journey to asking the right questions started back in college. I went to UC Santa Barbara. This was my campus. As you can imagine, it was a very difficult 4 years of my life. My senior year, I'm doing an internship, and I sit down with the CEO right before graduation, and I asked him what job I should get after school. And he looks at me and says, Geoff, you're asking the wrong question. You should be asking, what are the skills I can master that are so valuable, they will serve me no matter where I go? Then go find jobs that'll help you build those skills. This is the best career advice I've ever received. For those of you that have kids, this is what you tell them. This is what you tell them. It's not about the job, especially when we don't even know what jobs are going to look like moving forward. It's about focusing on developing the right skills that we think are going to have longevity and value into the future. Now, based on my personality, I went into sales, worked for Xerox to get great training, got into medical device sales because nobody likes their copier rep, but wearing scrubs is really cool. And maybe my wife would call me McDreamy. That did not happen. Now I've grown the hair out. Now I'm really going for it. But by 2013, I got into entrepreneurship. I moved to Austin to partner with a guy named Gary Keller. He started a company called Keller Williams, small little real estate company you've probably heard of. He wrote this book called The One Thing. If you have heard or read The One Thing, put a number 1 in the chat box. Otherwise, give me a question mark. Okay. Popular business book. Here's the high level premise. We all have way too much to do and not enough time. There is one thing that if you focus on that, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary. So a lot of what I had to master the art and science of asking the right questions to get leaders to go from all the things they could do to narrowing the focus on the one thing they should do. This became a real superpower, very similar to hedgehog effect. This became a superpower. So I was going into large companies facilitating strategic planning. There's a company that delivers all your packages. I used to lead strategic planning for them, took them from a 21-page business plan down to one. How do you narrow the focus of an organization of 500,000 people to a single page? This was a superpower. By 2022, I had a chance to exit and went in-house as a chief growth officer of a big steel company called Jindal Steel. I had been the coach to the chairman and the exec team. So when I left the one thing, he had me come in-house. My focus was four drivers: strategy, execution, people, and technology. Strategy is about the competitive advantage you're building in the long term. Execution is executing a focused strategic plan. People, you'll like this. The purpose of your people is to achieve your goals. Your goals change every year. Your job descriptions do not, which means there is an inherent lack of alignment between what people do and the goals of the organization. I wanted to realign the workforce, which for context, we were talking about 100,000 people. So pretty big undertaking. And then how do we harness technology to do all of this? As you can see, it was pretty successful. Market cap grew from 750 million to 12 billion in a few years. It was December of 2022, I saw ChatGPT for the first time. And when I saw it, I saw the next skill. I really thought it was the future. And I'm going, okay, I think this is worth focusing on. I think this will serve me no matter where I go. But then I think, like a lot of us, I'm curious, how many of you, put me in the chat box, if you've seen AI and you're like, I'm so busy, I'll get to it later. Or you know what? I'll delegate it to my tech team. If that resonates, put me in the chat box. I felt it too. But there was something bigger that was calling me to prioritize this. The problem was, as I started using it, I was asking myself the wrong questions. I was asking, how can I use this to write a better email? That does not warrant going through a learning curve. But then I realized maybe I needed to ask myself different questions. And I found myself asking, what matters most in my role? And it was all about strategic thinking. Well, how might I use this to elevate my ability to think strategically or to make faster, smarter decisions? That was the unlock. I was in India every quarter. I'm at the chairman's house and I just made the pitch. I said, this is the future. And he goes, I agree. And I said, we should drive it through the whole company. And he goes, I agree. And I said, this is so important. I think you need to own this as chairman of the board. And he said, I disagree. You do it. Small little problem. I am not technical. So this is when I realized anytime you're hitting a ceiling of achievement, you're just missing a person. Who could I get into relationship with that would enable me to drive this through the company? That person's name was Google. And so I started living at their headquarters in Delhi, and they taught me a lot. And as I started to drive it through the company, I realized there was a much bigger problem, which is everybody knows they need to do something with AI, but AI adoption is not your goal. And you have all these tech and consulting companies pushing this on you like a solution looking for a problem. It's completely backwards. Nobody was talking about the difference that made the difference, which is you. And so January last year, I resigned. I said, I'm going to write a book about it. I'm going to build a company on it. And both have been an absolute rocket ship. Here's my realization, though. Your real competitive advantage is not knowing everything about AI. If you're trying to make sure, if you're asking, well, how do I stay up to date? How do I make sure that I'm always ahead? How do I acquire all the knowledge? Wrong question. There's no way you can. It's moving too fast. The use cases are too endless, but it's really about surrounding yourself with the right people, asking the right questions and tapping into collective knowledge. So then you can say, what are the things that matter most that are going to unlock new levels of value for my organization? That insight led me to make a strategic move where the focus of our entire company is building the largest network of AI-driven leaders in the world. The goal is that if we can get C-level executives who do not have to be technical, but understand that they will not delegate their vision, their strategy, or their leadership, and they want to lead the charge. If we can collaborate together on how we're harnessing the technology and ask each other the right questions, we will always stay ahead and we will never be behind. Everything I am sharing with you today is based on my own experience driving this through a large company, my experience writing one of the top books in the world on this, as well as being surrounded by some of the smartest people in the world driving this in their companies. Here's the problem. Every one of you knows this is the future. You may not know where to start, and you think you're falling behind. If that resonates with you, put me in the chat box if you feel that way. Here's the good news. You can still win. A lot of people are asking, are we behind? The answer is yes, but it's also the wrong question. The real question is, can we still win? That answer is yes, because it is so early in the game, but you got to get in the driver's seat and you got to start leading. I'm going to show you how to do it today. What I've experienced, and you can tell me if you agree with this when you look at the people in your org, most people are using AI one of two ways. They're either treating it like a really smart Google, they ask it questions, they get answers, or they're treating it like an assistant, whether it's to help them write a better email or marketing copy. If this resonates, give me a number 1 in the chat box. You're asking it questions like a search engine, you're having it help you with some tasks. My realization, I've built a career on helping execs focus on the 20% priorities that drive 80% of the results. Do these use cases bring value? Absolutely. And you're focusing on the 80% tasks that only drive 20% of the value. If you're going to go through the learning curve to figure out how to use AI, let's focus on the 20% that drives the 80%. And that requires you to redefine your relationship with AI. It can be your assistant or your Google, or you can see yourself as the thought leader and AI as your thought partner. That is a different standard. And it's really important here. The thought leader, you are in the driver's seat. Thought partner is in the passenger seat. I think this is one of the greatest risks that people are not talking about is people abdicating their responsibility as the thought leader. Anytime AI gives you an answer and you do not question it, you allowed it to replace your thinking instead of enhance your thinking. Anytime you see an email that you just know was written by AI, they allowed AI to replace that person's creativity instead of enhance it. That is a path to mediocrity. I never copy and paste what AI gives me. I view it like an employee. It gives me its work, and as the leader, I apply my judgment and my discernment, and I approve or deny. Same thing here. Now, when it comes to looking in your organization, there's only 3 ways it's going to bring value. Make your people more productive, make your operations more efficient, make your products and services more valuable. Mistake I'm seeing is companies racing to shove this into a product or to drive cost cutting before the leaders making the call have become AI-driven leaders. Imagine if your entire life you have only seen black and white, and I asked you to describe color. I mean, try describing Camille's jacket if you have only seen in black and white. You can't do it. Same thing here. Until you start really harnessing this technology, you will lack the vision on how you can transform your operational efficiency or the value of your product or service offering for your customers in a way that creates a moat into the future. It all starts with you. And here's where what the journey is going to look like. You start at the starting point, you have this light bulb moment where you see AI do something remarkable and you get excited and you're like, all right, I'm going to do this. The problem is you fall off the cliff. It doesn't work. And people mistakenly think the problem is AI when it's actually their communication. How many of you are married or have ever been married? If so, put me in the chat box. Tell me, how important is communication in a marriage? Number 1, right? Same thing with AI. Until you learn to communicate with this thing, it's not going to work for you. So don't judge the tech, judge your communication. I'm going to show you how to communicate really effectively with this. Once you know how to, you try to use it, you get a win. and you feel like you're building momentum. And then you get more confident. And so you start using it in different areas and you get wins and you feel like you're accelerating progress. And eventually you get to this point where you're just expanding what's possible. Tell me where you are on this curve right now. You could say I'm at the starting point. Today's day one. I'm at light bulb moment, meaning I've seen it do some great stuff, but I haven't really taken action yet. Reality check where you're trying, it's not really working. Building momentum, it's starting to work. Accelerating progress, it's working consistently. Expanding what's possible. You are AI driven. Yeah, Bo said about Dunning-Kruger effect. 100%. People who start off, very much like Dunning-Kruger effect. They think they're super confident, and then the more they learn, the less confident they get, and then ultimately you reach a point of mastery where very, very, very similar. Very much so. All right, cool. Here's the good news. Every one of you can be at accelerating progress in the next 30 days. Literally 30 days, you could be at accelerating progress. I'm going to make it real simple for you. You have to learn how to communicate. And I think of communicating with AI, it's called prompt engineering. I think of it like cooking. When I make dinner for my family, I do not pull everything out of my refrigerator. I do not use every ingredient. I don't use the same quantity of every ingredient. And I know better quality equals better tasting food. Same thing with AI. You just got to know the ingredients that you're putting into your recipe. Let me show you the Michelin star recipe that will work for 99% of your use cases. Crit, context, role, interview, task. Like this is so important. I actually have it on a sticky note on my desk. So I want you to have 2 sticky notes. One that says, how can AI help me do this? And another that says context, role, interview, task. You just keep those on your desk or on your computer. Promise you, that'll change the game. So let's talk about a use case. How many of you have a board? Give me a 1 if yes, give me a 2 if no. Okay, so this can work if you have a real board, or it can work if you just want an advisory board. I do not have a real board, but I do have an advisory board custom built to me. I'll talk about that in a little bit. One of the CEOs who's in our AI-driven leadership collective called me one day and he said, I got a problem. I said, what's up? He goes, as you know, we've been working toward an exit in the next 24 months, but my board is hostile. Every quarter is an absolute bloodbath. And when I look at my exec team's time throughout a quarter, 50% of it is just wasted because of board shenanigans. He goes, I just got a call from the chairman, and he basically said this is going so terrible that if we don't turn the relationship around within 6 months, we're all fired. And he's going to bring in a new team. I don't even know what to do. I'm pretty sure these guys just all have childhood trauma they've never healed, and they just take it out on us. I have no idea what to do. How can AI help me do this? Right question. And so I said, hey, I got an idea. Bring together your exec team on Zoom. We're going to do something cool. And so the team came together and I said, we're going to create an AI board. And here's how we did it. Context, role, interview, task. Context, I'm the CEO of company name. We're working toward an exit in the next 24 months. Our challenge is a hostile board. Every quarter is a bloodbath, and 50% of my exec team's time is wasted throughout the month with board distractions. I just got a call from the chairman saying I have 6 months to turn the relationship around or we're all gone. I really don't think it's us. I think it's them. Your role is to act as an HR professional with deep expertise in creating personality profiles. Interview me. Ask me one question at a time, as many questions as you want until you can understand one board member on a deep level. And then your task is to generate a personality profile for her we could use to train a GPT to create an AI board. How many of you already are like, what? So it does this interview and it literally spits out a personality profile on Susan. And I look at the CEO and say, you're the thought leader. It's just your thought partner. What do you think? Give it your feedback. And it's like, I think this is about 80% right, but I would tweak X, Y, and Z. Boom, it did it. We repeated that for every director. And then with a few clicks of a button, I created a custom GPT, which is just a mini app inside of ChatGPT, fed it all the personality profiles, and said, your task is to act as our AI board. We're going to give you our deck before the meeting. Your job is to review every slide as every director and summarize the landmines that are going to blow up in our face and cause all the bloodshed. To test it, We took a deck from the last meeting. We already know what happened in that meeting, gave it to the AI board. Guess how long it took it to read over 60 slides as every director and start generating feedback? Take a wild guess. Put your answer in the chat box. Keith got it. 5 seconds. The first thing it called out, this was so good. On page 8, Susan's going to get distracted by all the details on the slide. This is going to lead to a 30-minute detour that will derail your entire agenda. Instead of all the details, say these 3 things. It's what she cares about most. I turned to the CEO and he goes, "Oh my goodness, that's exactly what happened." To make it better, with the board's permission, we started using an AI note taker in the meetings. So we pull a real transcript from the upcoming meetings, give it back to the AI board, and said, compare what you simulated to reality and tweak the personality profile so you could have simulated reality. 6 months later, it's the second board meeting. This is the do or die. I know the meeting's happening, and I'm just waiting for my phone to ring. And eventually it does. I look down. It's the CEO's name. I answered. I said, "What's the verdict?" He said, "I just got a call from the chairman." He said, "This is the best board meeting we've ever had and the best deck we've ever seen." And then he asked me what changed. And my answer was, I have no clue. Folks, here's the big shift. I'm asking you to stop focusing on the tactical 80% tasks and start focusing on the 20% strategic priorities. I'm curious, what have you learned so far? Go ahead, put your answer in the chat box. What have you learned so far? What did you write to develop the personality profile? I actually showed you the prompt. That was the prompt. Context, role, interview, task. Yeah, here's the prompt. Go ahead and take a screenshot of that. We've been majoring in the minors. And by the way, Kathleen, I applaud you. You know why? Because you're taking action already. It's way easier just to tweak you when you're already in motion rather than getting you started. So if you're using it at all, big high fives. Now I'm hopefully just channeling your focus in ways that are going to be more valuable. Okay. Want to see a live demo? If so, put yes in the chat box. The interview is big. Yeah, it's big. Okay, do me a favor. How many of you have a business plan for this year? If so, put me in the chat box. You actually have a business plan. Like you have the goals, you have the various things that you're focusing on. Okay, awesome. How many of you have an active process you follow to stress test the sufficiency of your plan to make sure it is absolutely bulletproof? And if there are cracks in the foundation, you can call them out and you can identify how to plug them in the next 30 days. Give me a 1 if yes, give me a 2 if no. This is a great AI use case. Fantastic AI use case. So here's how we're going to do this. And I will share the whole prompt with you so you can do it. So I'm just using ChatGPT, specifically a Teams account, because then it doesn't train on my data. First thing I do, context, role, interview, task. Very first thing I do is I just put crit into the context window, and now it's just about filling in the gaps, which I've already done to save us time. So here is a real strategic plan of a real company in the collective. I'm just dragging and dropping. It is now uploaded. Clean skincare company, been growing about 70% year over year. We want to do 100% growth this year and on track for 600% growth in 3 years so we can have an exit. And we want to stress test the plan. So here's the prompt. Context attaches the strategic plan for a company in the collective. We've had 70% year over year growth for the last 4 years. My job has been to be an advisor to the exec team to make sure we're thinking strategically and that we hit our goals. This year, we want to do 100% growth to set us up for 600% growth in 3 years so we can have a big exit. Let's make it rain, baby. Role. Your role is to act is an aggressive, growth minded board member with deep expertise in the clean beauty industry. Interview me by asking 3 questions, but ask them one at a time to stress test our plan. Does it have the sufficiency to drive results? Are there holes in it or things we should be considering that we're not considering? Task: once you're done with the interview, your task is to give me the top 3 areas our plan may not be sufficient and strategies to fill the gap in the next 30 days. Copy. Let me send this to everyone. Paste. I just copied and pasted that entire prompt into the chat box. You are welcome to copy it and paste it onto a doc and personalize it for you. Run your own plan through this later. Let's see what it comes up with. So I sent it. Let's notice that it literally took 1 second for it to read the strategic plan and already come back with a question. Question: you're projecting to more than double revenue this year, 105.5 million from 52 million through a blend of internal production and contract manufacturing. What's your customer acquisition strategy that ensures demand scales fast enough to consume the full 3 million internal and 1.25 million contract units planned for 2025? Give me specifics. What CAC are you targeting? What's your expected LTV? Are you allocating budget to hit this demand curve? And how do you know if the current channels can scale? Real quick, how many of you have an AI tool that can talk to you this way? Give me a 1 if yes, give me a 2 if no. For those of you that put 1, you are absolutely right. Every single one of you has a tool that can talk this way. If you're using ChatGPT or Copilot or Claude or Gemini or Grok or Hugging Face or Perplexity, any large language model can talk this way. The difference that makes the difference is not the tool. It's the person who harnesses it. I have a feeling if you give me a paintbrush and you give Picasso a paintbrush, the results are going to be very different. I'm going to give you a great stick figure. He'll give you a masterpiece. This is just about learning how to wield the technology. All right. Our ROAS is 7-1. Our reorder rate is 2.67 times a year, and LTV climbs year over year because every year we order or we launch new products and people buy the existing ones and the new ones. The real challenge for us is that we have to shut down ads because production can't keep up. We could easily scale to eclipse these numbers if production could scale with demand, but it's breaking consistently. Is anybody bothered that I did not change the spelling of launch and products? If so, it does not matter. AI knows what I'm saying anyways. Got it. You're demand constrained by production, not the other way around. That makes the choke point clear. If production is your bottleneck and you're aiming for 4 million units in 26, what's your biggest failure points in your current supply chain and ops model? And what redundancies or contingencies have you built to ensure this doesn't break at double the scale? We bought a new warehouse and a lot of equipment to scale internal production. However, it's not enough. We need to rely on contract manufacturers. But last year, one really dropped the ball and hurt us. We didn't have a process to vet quality, and it was a huge miss. We also didn't have a bench. So if we need to switch from one to another, we could. This year, we need 3 in seat with processes to vet quality. So what actually happened last year, this is real. Body butter is one of our top 3 products, and we got 150,000 units delivered 2 weeks before Black Friday, where we do 30 to 40% of our annual revenue in 1 week. And we found shards of glass in the body butter. We had to throw out 150,000 units of one of our best-selling products, and we still grew 70%. All right, Question 3, you're positioning to lead the animal-based skincare category and want 600 million plus valuation in 3 years. What's your strategy to build category dominance and brand equity beyond DTC, retail, B2B partnerships, and thought leadership? So this isn't just a high-growth Shopify brand, but a strategically valuable company at exit. Specifically, what makes a strategic buyer or PE firm pay top dollar for this company versus seeing it as a DTC product line with good ads? Oh, that's such a good and hard question. We want to position the founder as a much bigger thought leader. We've talked about her writing a book. Her podcast is absolutely crushing it. That's what we've got so far. Not sure if that's sufficient, though. Open to your feedback and creative ideas. So I'm literally just answering the way I would talk. Now, before I show you the gaps, remind me in the chat box, what's your role in this relationship? You are the thought leader. That's right, Mark. AI is your thought partner. Very good. Here's the point. You do not blindly follow what this gives you. You apply your human judgment. 3 gaps and how to fix them. Production risk is still your Achilles heel. You know demand is not the problem, but without hardening multi-source manufacturing engine, 100% growth is fragile. 30-day fix. Lock in 3 vetted CMs with redundancy across product categories. Implement a CM scorecard, cost, QA, timeline, adaptability, and weekly performance reviews. I like that a lot. We haven't thought about that yet. Approach a bench builder, one person accountable for always having at least one backup ready. Most weak moat outside of DTC. Your risk being seen as a high performance Shopify brand, not only strategic platform company. That compresses your exit multiple. 30-day fix, finalize founder's thought leadership platform, book, keynote, blah, blah, blah. Launch one B2B play. Interesting. Initiate retail convos to test physical footprint, even if small. This is a very interesting insight that we have not surfaced before. So if I'm looking at this, 1, I'm emailing this to the CEO. 2, I'm emailing this to the CEO. This is actual value for me right now. No aggressive demand planning model. If you want to make it rain, funny. You can't just say, we'll turn ads back on. That's reactive. You need a demand engine that tells ops what's coming. That is so true. Roll out a demand model tied to production targets. Add a CMO level strategic media buyer. Define marketing scale unlocks. Those are 3 legitimate high value insights we had not thought about before. Now, I did not set a timer, but I think even with me playing around with this, that was probably in the range of about 7 minutes, if I had to guess. Based on what you've seen so far, I'm curious, what are the ways you can imagine using this in your business? Put it in the chat box. What are where are you now seeing color that maybe before you were seeing black and white? What are you seeing? P&L strategies, development strategies, almost any kind, strategic gaps, threats, and areas of opportunity to capitalize on. Yeah, very good. Jeffrey asked, what about the concerns regarding putting my proprietary confidential IP into a public tool? Won't my data be out? Right question, Jeffrey. So a lot of people ask me, what tool should I use? And I revise their question. It is, what tool can I use that will not train on my data? So you've got 2 high-level options right now. One is enterprise, and 2 is off the shelf. Enterprise means that you are taking ChatGPT or Copilot and you are pulling it into your own ChatGPT, your own server, whether it's Azure or AWS, where your tech team controls the security around that, called a walled garden. That is the ultimate. That also comes with a bigger price tag. Off the shelf is you just signing up for one of these platforms. If your product is free, The product is not the product. You are the product. So you got three options. One, ChatGPT Teams. This is not the $20 a month. Just literally Google ChatGPT Teams and you'll have it. Copilot from Microsoft, the $30 a month one does not train on your data, and Claude from Anthropic does not train on your data. Now, this is all based on their terms of service. You have to ask the question, do you believe them? And what's the risk reward? This is my talk for my company. This is not what I'm telling you. The risk, if they violate these, that's a bigger problem. Yeah, Ollie, I get it. You don't believe them. Then you can go enterprise. But you also have to ask the risk, like the stuff that I have in my company, even if they trained on my data, that does not suddenly mean it's available to everybody. It just means it improves their model. The risk of inaction eclipses the risk of action for my company. So those are your two options. Or your other option is you don't use it, which I think is you choosing to play at a disadvantage. There are things you can do, like that strategic plan I plugged in. I took the name of the company out. I removed any identifying information from it, even though I have a ChatGPT Teams account. So those are your answers as of right now. Okay, let's keep on moving. Here's what I think matters. You got to remember that your ability to think strategically is the difference between growing your business or going out of business. This is not about writing better emails. This is about being a better leader. So how do you lead the transformation? An email was sent out, and within it was a link to the AI-driven organization benchmark. We understand that every leader knows it's the future, but most still do not know where to start. They don't know what to do next, and they think they're falling behind. So we wanted to be able to give any leader context on where they stand right now and what they can do next. This is a tool we developed for our customers because of our relationship with Camille and Talentfoot. You all have access to it right now. It literally takes you 5 minutes to fill it out, and it will tell you where you fall on the 5 levels of maturity. Foundational competence is just about you and your exec team getting clarity on how to use this. You got to start at the top. You're getting the right model in place. You're getting the right governance in place. Then you go to level 2. This is where you expand to your early adopters and you work the kinks out and you figure out what are some of these use cases where we can use this to deliver value inside the company. Once you work the kinks out, you go to level 3 where you strategically start to expand across half the organization and you work the kinks out. And then you go to level 4 where you're actually optimizing the current state. And then level 5 is when you go to transform for the future state. I just look at these like dominoes. It's just one at a time. That benchmark will really help you. It all starts with you asking the right questions. Most people are asking, how can I do this? I keep a sticky note on my desk. How can AI help me do this? If you ask that question, you will create awareness of a use case. You'll take action by opening your AI tool, and then you'll communicate effectively, context, role, interview, task, and you will get a positive result. That is how you drive. When I say you could be at level 3 or accelerating progress in the next 30 days, that's what gets you there. And I literally want you to start with 2 sticky notes. That's my call to action for you. 2 sticky notes. One that says, how can AI help me do this? One that says context, role, interview, task, once a day, every day, for the next 30 days, whatever you're doing. You're reviewing your financial statements. Great. Context, role, interview, task. Context. Here's my financial statements. Drag and drop. Role. You're a strategic CFO who's awesome at telling a CEO the top 5 non-obvious things they need to know about their business based on their financials that they don't know about their business because they're terrible at reading P&Ls. Interview me. Ask me 1 question at a time, up to 5 questions to gain deeper context. Your task is to tell me what those top 5 things are. That's a real use case because I was reviewing my financials and I saw the sticky note. I do it every month now. Now I start now. I believe this came from Eric Schmidt, former CEO of Google. I believe we'll be living in a fundamentally different world in the next 5 years, not 10, 5. And what he meant by this is that every single thing you know about your company is going to be different within 5 years. And he said that a year ago. For me as a leader, If I hear that there is a tidal wave coming that's going to change everything I know about my business, me not gaining knowledge on that is me abdicating my responsibility as a leader. My job is not to become an AI expert, but my job is to cast a vision for the future. It is to define our strategy for how we're going to win. And it is to lead my company to make sure we execute the strategy so we realize our vision. That is your job as an AI driven leader. You do not get to delegate that to a consultant or to your tech team. That's your job. And not knowing where to start doesn't have to stop you from winning. I'm telling you, start with 2 sticky notes. Your challenge is going to be that your priority is growing your business, not becoming an AI driven leader. I will also tell you there was a study that just came out from McKinsey last month that said guess what the number one determiner of ROI with AI is? Guess what it is? Put the answer in the chat box. What is the number one determiner of the ROI you get from AI? The CEO's involvement. It coming from the top. Yep. Anytime you're moving forward, you're hitting a ceiling, you're just missing a person. It's not about you having all the information. It is about you surrounding yourself with the right people. So here is my action for you. Number one, we have a prompt library that I don't even know how many prompts are in that thing. It's a lot. They're all strategic in nature. I'm giving it to all of you for free. If you just scan that QR code, start there. This is me giving you the fish, and I gave you crit, which is teaching you to fish. This will give you a place to jump off of, and you can use crit, but the prompt library will really expand your knowledge. If you scan that QR code, it'll automatically take you to a form. You enter your email, and then there are options. There are things that we actually do from a business standpoint. You can check which ones you're interested in. You can deselect the ones you're not interested. The core of our company is the AI Driven Leadership Collective. This is for C-level executives who really want to be the leaders of driving this in their company, and they know they don't want to do it alone. We go on the journey together. We also have workshops we do to turn the lights on for teams, and there are some companies we will do advisory for. You're welcome to deselect all of them and just get the prompt library. And if you have interest in talking to us about what we actually do, you're welcome to check the box. Let's go questions. Camille, can you hear me? Did my internet freeze?
I can hear you great. My internet just got unstable. Can you hear me?
I can. Okay, so folks, this is Q&A time.
Can you hear me, Geoff?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Yes, you can. So one question came from Mark. Should we be looking at other AI tools beyond ChatGPT right now? Honestly, Mark, no. And it doesn't have to be ChatGPT. It could be Copilot, it could be Gemini, it could be Claude. Let me tell you what matters. There are 3 skills that need to be learned. Step 1, can you identify a 20% use case? That's most important. Step 2, can you communicate effectively with AI? That's where crit comes into the fold. And 3, can you stay in the driver's seat as thought leader? No tool is going to give you a greater advantage than knowing these 3 things. I see a lot of people who spend so much time on like, well, this tool is better for this, and this tool is better for this. And the truth is, you're right. I have found Claude to be better at coding, writing, and strategic thinking than the others. I have found Copilot to have advantages, specifically when it comes to agentic AI. I have found ChatGPT to have advantages when it comes to building custom GPTs and products and deep research. I have found Perplexity to be most valuable when it comes to citing your sources and research. I can rattle all of them off. All of that is an 80% distraction until you can nail these 3 things. Start here, then you earn the right to look elsewhere. What other questions do you have? What about the concerns regarding putting my proprietary confidential IP? Yeah, so we hit that one. Get a model that doesn't train on your data. Where did ChatGPT get the context of the board of directors member, and how would we react to a given slide? I had it act as an HR professional with deep expertise in creating personality profiles, and had made it its job to interview us, to pull the knowledge it needed out of the executive team's heads so it could then create a personality profile. And then the exec team, as thought leader, said what was accurate, what was inaccurate, and what needed to change. That's how we created the personality profile. And then once it was stored, based on the actual board meetings and the actual transcripts of what that person said, we had it compare the personality profile to what was said and make tweaks. AI had to identify what tweaks it needed to make to the personality profile so it could have simulated what the director actually said. I'm going to give you another one. I have my own personal AI board. This is good. I told it what my 10-year vision was for the future. I gave it my business plan for the year. I also told it what my strengths and weaknesses were as a founder and a CEO. I then had it interview me to identify the skills I would want to acquire if I were to assemble a real advisory board. It gave me the list, which I reviewed and said, I agree with these ones. Then had it do research of famous people who actually exemplified these skills and then built personality profiles for every single one of them. Steve Jobs is on my board for vision and product design, but he is not allowed to give me advice on being a husband, a father, or a leader. Warren Buffett is on my board for long-term planning and risk mitigation. My future self, 30 years into the future, is on my board so I can have a conversation with the man I want to become today. Baby, that is good. That is good. Okay. What about when you work with a fractured org where 50% of the staff don't like it, don't want it, and have tried to spike efforts toward it? So, great question. Big actions, big results start with small actions. I'm not going and training everybody on this. I'm forming my Navy SEAL team of the core people that we're going to go on this and start to figure this out together. Then I'm going to expand to the next cohort. Then I'm going to expand to the next cohort. And depending on your role in the organization, this is where leadership comes in. He's the president or the CEO of Shopify. Something just was released on X. They were going to leak an internal memo thinking that they were going to make him look bad, made him look awesome. He gave a memo internally basically saying that AI usage is no longer a suggestion, it is a standard. And before you can ask for resources or headcount increase, you have to prove that you have maximized the current state with AI. So this is where leadership comes to the table. In my company, you do not have a job if you are not actively becoming an AI-driven leader. If you are consciously choosing to play at a disadvantage, wrong bus. You don't get to be in our world. So this is a leadership thing. What about okay? I'm curious if you've ever experienced with Perplexity and if there's a reason you didn't mention it. I do use Perplexity for research. Although the moment that ChatGPT came out with deep research, I haven't used Perplexity much. What's your opinion of building versus investing in personal AI agents? Keith, I think the more you can get off the shelf, it's a case by case basis. I think if you build something yourself, you're going to acquire technical debt. I don't want that. So I also think that technology is moving so fast. I want to build as little of it as possible bespoke to me. I'd rather have off the shelf things that somebody else is always continuing to make better. It's the data, my data, that I want to have centralized. That's the advantage. Is the outline for creating your AI board in your book, not to the depth I just did here, Jen? In your experience, what's the best AI note taker and why? We've used Read.ai, Otter AI. We have used Fathom. We chose to use Fathom and go all in on that because it has a direct integration to HubSpot. So when it takes notes on our sales calls, it automatically uploads it to the CRM. So that's why we use Fathom. What's a good resource to learn more about custom GPTs and how important they are for us to understand? Dan, custom GPTs, it may or may not make a difference for you at your level. Assuming you're C level, you're probably not going to build a custom GPT. Now, your team acquiring that capability, I think that's important. How can AI help you do this? You can literally ask AI to teach you how to create a GPT and follow it, and it will do it. Oh, baby, so good. So good. It actually works. I know we're about to land the plane. I want to make a final point. This is way less about the tech, folks, and far more about redefining who you are and who you can become. My journey, I was bullied pretty significantly when I was a kid. I grew up hating myself. And my whole life, I thought if I could be more successful than the next person, then they would like me or respect me. And frankly, it worked. I mean, it drove me to accomplish a lot. The problem was when I sold my last company, I woke up the next morning deeply depressed because I didn't know who I was. I made the mistake of attaching my identity to my work rather than aligning my identity with my work. And this is why I think so many people are afraid of AI. They think it's going to take their job, but really subconsciously, they worry that it's going to take their identity. And this is where leadership comes in. You are you, you are not what you do. In every technological transformation, AI made certain processes and skills less valuable, and that's all a job is. But we as humans, we were born to grow and evolve. It is our strength. And with the right leadership, we can allow people to harness their strengths, focus it on the priorities of their role in alignment with company goals, and use AI to enhance them because it can never replace them. And it starts with you asking better questions. Who can you become? That answer lies within you. Thank you, folks.
Thank you all. Thank you, Geoff. Thank you all so much. Can you hear me, Geoff? I've
Yeah,
been
you're
losing my
good.
internet the last few minutes.
You're good.
I might be frozen, but thank you all so much for being here. I hope you've gained some practical knowledge on how to leverage AI as a true partner in your work. And of course, big thank you to you, Geoff. You do such an incredible job sharing your modern wisdom, and your work really is transformational. You make us all better. And thank you again for all of those that participated in the chat. You made it very lively for us. If you'd like to get your hands on Geoff's book, we will be sending out a complimentary copy for attending today's session. All you have to do is email us with your name and your address to info@talentfoot.com. We wish everyone much continued success and innovation as you embrace the future of AI in your leadership journeys. Have a great rest of your days.
Thanks, folks. See ya.